Lord of the Chords is a 30-minute game for 2 to 4 players where you combine notes to form chords and win the game. Upgrade your music theory knowledge and enjoy the punniness of this edutainment experience. The goal of Lord of the Chords is to be the first person to complete 3 chords. At any given time in the game, there will be a key signature that everyone is playing in. You can only play notes that fit in this key signature, as indicated on the token. Notes can be played in chords. Once you have a chord that fits the key signature, you've earned that key signature to signify your completed chord. A new key signature is revealed, and players continue in the new key to complete new chords. On your turn in Lord of the Chords, you have a draw phase and a play phase. In the draw phase, draw any 3 cards from the river to your hand. The river is made up of 2 kinds of cards, action cards and note cards. Your 3 cards can be any combination of these. Refill the river only after the draw phase. If you have 11 or more cards in your hand at the start of your turn, you have to skip this phase. In the play phase, you have 3 moves to spend. Each of the following counts as a move: playing a note card, playing an action card, moving a note from one chord to another, or trading note cards for accidental tokens. You can also spend 2 moves to draw another card from the river. To play a note card, put it in your field. It must be a note that fits the key signature currently in play. Some cards have 2 notes on them. They are enharmonic equivalents, meaning they count as both notes. As you play a note, you can add 1 accidental token to it to change the resulting pitch up or down a half step to fit the key. This doesn't cost an additional move, but is the only time you can add a token unless otherwise specified. Remember, a sharp and a flat cancel each other out. Also remember that the notes B and C, as well as the notes E and F, are a half step away. So, for example, if you put a flat on an F, it would become an E. You can play note cards on top of others to stack them into chords. It takes 1 move to move a note from chord to chord. You can move a note out of a completed chord as long as it stays a valid chord. To play an action, reveal it to the group, resolve its effects, and place it in the action discard. Some action cards are surprise actions. These don't cost a move and can be played at any time, even on another player's turn. To trade note cards for accidental tokens, discard the appropriate number of note cards for the appropriate number of tokens. A token is worth a dotted quarter note. Each note card has a note value in the bottom left of either an eighth note, a quarter note, a dotted quarter note, or a half note. A quarter note is worth 2/8 notes. A dotted quarter note is worth 3/8 notes. A half note is worth 4/8 notes. If I spend more than a dotted quarter note for a token, the remaining note value is wasted. Trading costs 1 move, but in that move you can trade for as many tokens as you're able to. Once a player completes a 3-note chord that fits in the key signature, they have claimed it. Take the key signature tile and put it on your chord, and add to it the guitar pick that matches your chord's tonality. The player who completed the chord then gets to pick the new key signature. When a new key signature is chosen, resolve all off-key notes by either discarding the off-key note or the token on that note. This only applies to notes not in a completed chord. You can also add an unused token to a note to keep it in the key instead of discarding that card. At the start of the game, players choose an instrument tile, which give you special abilities called solos. These take effect under certain circumstances throughout the game and can be temporarily blocked by the surprise action, turn off the lights. A player's chords can be stolen through the action cards called 7th steals. The tonality of the card must match the tonality of the chord for a steal. For example, only a major 7th steal can steal a major chord. To steal a chord, play the 7th steal card as well as the note that makes the chord a 7th and put it, along with the key signature, in your field. To find the 7th of a chord, look at the root note of the chord and count up 7 notes. You could also just look 1 note to the left of the root note. If the chord already has a seventh, you don't need to add the seventh note to steal it. Just play the appropriate steal card. You can make your chord unstealable by adding the octave from the root note of the chord. For example, this A major is unstealable because it has another A on top. And this E minor 7 is unstealable because it has an E on top. Occasionally you will make a diminished or an augmented chord. Since there are no 7 steals for these types of chords, they too are unstealable. You're allowed to use a move to take notes out of a chord that has more than 3 notes, as long as the notes that remain can make a chord. Here are some rules and cards that require a little further explanation. The time signature cards can be played in one of 2 ways. The first is to draw as many cards as you like from the deck, up to the value of 1 bar in that time signature without going over. If you do go over, you don't keep any of the cards. The second way is to play note cards from your hand up to the value of 1 bar of that time signature. A 2/4 bar can hold 2 quarter notes, or 4/8 notes. A 3/4 bar can hold 3 quarter notes, or 6/8 notes. A 4/4 bar can hold 4 quarter notes, or 8/8 notes. Scale degree action cards count as a certain number according to the key signature. For example, the mediant is always the 3rd note of the scale. In C major, that means the mediant counts as an E, or in A major, the mediant is a C sharp. If the scale degree card is in a completed chord, its note becomes fixed. If the chord gets Chopined, it gets unlocked and becomes the relative scale degree of the new key. Each key signature has a major and relative minor side. You'll notice those 2 key signatures have the same number of sharps and flats in them. Pick one side or the other. If you play on the minor side and you're very familiar with music theory, you can form chords in natural, melodic, or harmonic minor. However, you have to stick to whichever type of chord you choose once you start it. The notes written on the key signature tile are the notes of natural minor. Harmonic minor is the same as natural minor, but with a sharp 7th. Melodic minor is the same, but with a sharp 6th and 7th. If the notes deck runs out, reshuffle the discard for a new deck. If the action deck runs out, it stays empty. Note cards used to trade for tokens, for 7th steals, and to discard all must come from your hand, not from note cards already in your field. Perfect pitch cards can be any note you want them to be. There are a number of variant rules. Some are for a simplified version of the game, while others add game mechanics, such as chord extensions and cadences. Refer to these in the rulebook. To start a game of Lord of the Chords, choose a deck to play with. Remove the special German B and H cards, unless you use the German system, in which case remove the B and B flat cards. Shuffle the action and note decks, and draw 3 from each to form the river. Give each player an accidental token. Each player chooses an instrument. Decide as a group on a key signature to start, put it on top of the stack, and you're ready to begin. We're Games Explained, and that's how to play Lord of the Chords. If you want a little more music theory in your life, why not check out Overtone Warp Zone? It's a podcast I do about video game music from Super Smash Bros. You can check it out at overtonewarpzone.com.